I would like to acknowledge that this video is being filmed on the traditional lands of the Wurrundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander or First Nations people who may be watching this video today. Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to my mid-year book freakout tag. This is a bit of an institution here on BookTube, so we're going to go with it. I will leave all of the questions listed down below, so if you want to grab these and do them for yourself, you absolutely can, but we're going to jump straight into all of the questions because we don't want this video to be really long. Question 1 is the best book you've read so far this year. For me, that is, without question, A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. Mostly because I was not including rereads. But this is a brand new book that I've read this year that I absolutely adored. It is queer historical fiction featuring a trans heroine. It is a second chance, friends to lovers romance, and it is just amazing. It is hard-hitting, it is funny, it is poignant, and Alexis Hall is just incredible with the way that he crafts his stories. I cannot recommend this one enough. Question 2 is the best sequel you have read this year. For me, that is Always Practice Safe Hex by Juliet Cross, because I adore the Stay a Spell series, and I was so excited for this one because the grooms have been the characters in the series that I've been most dying to meet and find out more about, and we finally get that with Livy and Gareth in this book. Gareth's name will come back up again later in this video. If you are unfamiliar with this series, which is probably unlikely if you have followed me for any period of time, it is a contemporary paranormal romance set in New Orleans featuring a family of sisters who are witches and their romantic partners. This is the 4th book in the series. We follow Livy, who ends up having to work alongside her nemesis, Gareth Blackwater, who happens to be a Grimm. They are partnered together to work on a project which forces them to spend time together. Yay, forced proximity. Oh my word, this book was hot and amazing, and I just absolutely loved it. I do have a full video for it, so if you want to hear all of my ramblings about it, you can go check out that video. Question 3 is a new release that you would like to read but you haven't gotten to it yet. For me, that is The Wedding Crasher by Mia Sosa, which I've had since it was released and I still haven't read it yet. Shame on me. And also The Company of Fiends by Catherine Moon, which is the follow-up to A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor. I almost forgot the title. I'm very excited to read both of these. Question 4 is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and you guys know me, this would not be a one book response. I am eagerly awaiting Husband Material by Alexis Hall. I am hanging out for Storm Echo and Archangel's Resurrection by Nalini Singh. I can't wait for Lunatic by Only James, and Exiles by Jane Harper, which is not a romance book. This is an Australian crime book, but Jane Harper is my favourite Australian author, and I think this book is the last book in the Aaron Falk series, and I'm going to be so sad when it's done because Aaron Falk is one of my favourite characters. Question 5 is your biggest disappointment, and I don't tend to dwell on the disappointing books, mostly because I put them down and then promptly forget about them, so it actually took a while to figure out what I was going to answer for this. So I think I have to go with So Sweet by Rebecca Weatherspoon, just because I love Rebecca Weatherspoon, but this one just completely missed the mark for me and I don't know what it was. I just didn't enjoy it. And also recently Going Public by Hudson Lynn, which I picked up because it had ace representation in the book, but the book went in a place that I totally didn't expect it to go, and I just wasn't interested in the last third of the book, which was a shame because everything else I was deeply invested in and it just fell flat. Question 6 is your biggest surprise, and for me, I think it's possibly the Only James Necessary Evil series, which I was not expecting to like and ended up falling in love and just reading the books back to back. I don't know what it is about that series. All the books are They feature characters who are psychopaths, and I shouldn't enjoy it as much as I did, but I clearly did. And also the other one was The Never King by Nikki St. Crow, which I only just read recently at the urging / prompting / bullying of a few of my friends, and I adored it. And I read both the books in the series back to back, and then I read a whole bunch of other Nikki St. Crow books back to back just because I'm deeply invested in her world, and I have a sneaking suspicion that all of the worlds in her books are connected. That was a very pleasant surprise. Question 7 is favourite new to you author. This year I have read Olivia Dade, absolutely loved her books. Bethany Chris was another one. I picked up some of her mafia romance books. Only James, as I mentioned earlier. Lily Mayne does the Monstrous paranormal romance series featuring monsters, and they're just, I love them so much. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else that's new that I've read. Oh, Chloe Leese. Love her Bergman Brothers series. Question 8 is newest fictional crush. I don't typically have these, but I would be remiss if I didn't say Gareth from Always Practice Safe Hex. I absolutely adored him. And also Raylan from Broken Vow by Sophie Lark. I just adored him. Question 9 is newest favourite character. I would have to go with Rooney from With You Forever by Chloe Leese. I just adored her so much in that book, and I loved her relationship. She was just delightful. She had been a side character in some of the previous books. She was always very sunshiny, and we find out in this book she's actually dealing with a chronic illness, and not everything is perfect, and suddenly she's a bit adrift and she's taking some time for herself. I just loved her because she felt very real and like a very genuine character, and it sounds really weird to say that of a fictional character, but that's how I felt when I was reading her. I also really loved Winnie from The Never King because she just does not take crap from anyone. She is fully aware of herself. She is fully aware of her limits. She knows how to use sex to her advantage. She's not apologetic about it. I just thought she was a really strong, fantastic character to read about. Question 10 is a book that made you cry. This one. Question 11 is a book that made you happy. The only book that I can use for this is That Time I Got Drunk and Yeeted a Love Potion at a Werewolf, because the title makes me happy, the book makes me happy, the whole thing was just a delightful romp through weird paranormal romance. I adored it. It makes me happy thinking about it. So that is the only book that could possibly be included on this list. Question 12 is the most beautiful book that you have read or received so far this year. For me, it is my hardcovers of the Wicked Villain series by Katie Robert. These were from her Kickstarter. They're stunning. But there's Desperate Measures, Learn My Lesson, which is my favorite, A Worthy Opponent, The Beast, The Sea Witch, and Queen Takes Rose. I still need to do a reread of these editions of the book so that I can annotate these ones. I love them. And question 13, the final question, is what books do you still have to read this year? The simple answer to that is nothing. I don't have to read anything. I do want to read lots of things, but I don't have to read anything. And I think that's a really important distinction to make. I would like to read more of the physical books that are sitting on my physical TBR because I am trying to get that down to one shelf. I would like to read my most anticipated releases that I mentioned earlier, but I am under no requirement to read anything. And that takes a whole lot of pressure off. Hi guys, sorry I look different because this is a different day because I totally forgot that I was going to tack on my mid-year reading stats to this video just because it's talking about the mid-year freakout tag, so we might as well do mid-year stats. And I know that some people are interested in this. I'm going to go through it super quickly because I don't have super fancy graphics. I just have my lists that I keep track of in my spreadsheet. So far in the year, I have read 302 books and a total of 72,090 pages. I should say that all of these stats are from the 30th of June before I read anything else in July. So far this year, I have reread 23 books and 279 of the books that I've read are first-time reads for me. I have read 81 new to me authors. The rest are all authors that I have read previously. The new to me author only really counts as the first book that I read from that author. If I read subsequent books in the first 6 months of the year, they then count as read previously. The vast majority of what I've read has been adult titles, but there is a scattering of kids all age type stuff in there as well. These numbers would be very different if I included all of the reading that I do during my work day when I'm reading with the kids, but mostly the only kids titles that I count are either review copies or things that I do for vlogs or recommendation videos for this channel rather than what I read day to day with my students. I have read 177 novels and 77 novellas, and you can see on the graphic the breakdown of the other types of books that I've read, either audiobooks or anthologies or graphic novels or things like that. If we're talking about my best reading month, I broke it down in two ways. If you're counting best month by how many books I read, that was January because I read 55 books. If you're counting it by pages, it was April and I read over 16,000 pages across 50 books. So far this year, I have 28 6-star reads, which are my favorite books. Most of these are rereads. So there are a couple of new books in there, but the majority of the rereads I've read are my absolute favorite books. So that's why that number is skewed really high. That said, I have read 57 5-star books because I like to pick things by authors that I love. So in turn, that skews my ratings higher. And 140 plus of those books are 4-star reads or above. Again, I pick things that I'm interested in. So that generally tends to work in my favor in terms of ratings. And of course, my, most read genre is romance books. I have read 247 romance books this year. When I categorize these books though, they're always categorized first by romance. I have 2 tags for this. They're romance and then whatever subgenre of romance they are. In terms of that breakdown, I have read quite a few contemporary romances followed by paranormal romances, tend to be my top 2 subgenres of romance. All right, so those are my stats for the middle of the year. If you are a member of my channel, you'll get my top favorite books every month in the members only video that I do. Otherwise, you guys will see my top favorite books for the year at the end of the year. Thank you very much for watching my mid-year book freakout tag as well as my mid-year stats. In the comments, I would love to know the best book that you have read so far this year. Otherwise, I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.